networked. I'm a nerd. A big nerd. We're almost live on YouTube, apparently. Cool. There we go. Yep, we're live on YouTube now. Live on Facebook, live on Twitter, live on the tube. Welcome, everyone. We just waited a long time for Dossie to show up, so Kaes and I are in good rambling form on the
I've got
the Waiver Wire podcast.
I've got no hot takes left.
Oh, we'll just redo them. I'd say 20 minutes, but usually only goes for like 10, 15, so we had a good 5 minutes of just shit talking. And because there was less games as well.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
There was quite a bit in there. Anyway.
Who were the big pickups this week?
Can't actually remember now.
Fair, ain't it?
Wil Powell. On the wing.
Willer down.
Will Hayes.
Wil Hayes. There weren't that many good ones. Bailey Williams was still under-owned.
Tef, so you're now not in the team.
Convince me that it's not the worst call ever.
It's a great
still
call.
Not saying it's great.
Break even of 36 in Classic. Cash it in. Baby.
Everyone's 36 when they haven't played yet.
See? Exactly. Cash it in.
Not a good break.
He's gonna score a minimum 70 and then...
Minimum 70.
All right.
Hold you to it.
You've brought in worse players that I've recommended.
Yeah.
Give himself
I don't know if that's a good argument to have.
Actually, you talk yourself into Matt Roberts. I'm not taking any of that shit that you gave last week.
Follow heaps of my shit advice.
Yeah, that was me.
That was all you.
All right. I'm going to have a quick drink of water. No one's online listening to this gold. I got one viewer. No, we got 4 viewers. Sick. Across the platforms. All right. Let me have a drink and then we'll get started.
Ooh, Will Hayes is 27. And that's the age that Cam thinks is a breakout.
Or for if you're 2 years off, you're getting fired if you play for St Kilda, according to Checkers last week. You die after 29.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
But he doesn't play for St Kilda, so it's all right.
Yeah.
All right. They got enough hazers. 1. Okay. You guys good to go?
Yeah.
Have been for the last... Wow.
When did you get here?
7:30.
Oh. No. Oh, okay.
No, because like when you said you had no errors after that, so I'm like, it should be good to go, normal time. And then
Yeah.
Anyway, let's do it. Hold on. Got to turn the music on.
Put my other game in? Yeah.
All right, all good. Here we go. G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the lesser knowns and the players that are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Hef and I'm joined by my co-host Kaes. How you going, Kaes?
Very well, Hef.
Back,
How are you?
Good, thank you. And Dossie, you're here too.
I am.
Yep.
You're very calm today in the intro. What's going on there?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I got the headphones on for this one. I don't really know. Maybe I can't hear myself like as
quiet.
I'm hearing myself better. Maybe I don't have to talk as loud. I don't know.
It's because he finally decided to actually introduce one by one. Usually he's like, boys, and he's not sure it's going to come back at him.
I've been doing that for a few weeks now. You haven't noticed?
Anxiety levels.
Maybe just come straight back down. Yeah, I don't know. Kaes, welcome back.
Yeah, he's back.
A bit disappointed Checkers not on because that was a ripper episode last week if you missed it.
Yeah, listeners were saying it was the best of the year.
Yeah, best. So. I reckon the best Keep League episode ever, they were saying.
I've heard that
too.
Specifically because Kaes wasn't
I've
here.
also heard them say, imagine if it was Checkers, Kaes and someone else. So it's up between you two who obviously Checkers provides the gold. I'm the Oracle. Still waiting to see what you guys really do.
Maybe we would have to have a torp off to see who could get there. Maybe Checkers would pick the guy who could kick the biggest torp out of the two of us.
He was offering a torp.
Well, it wouldn't be you,
torp sesh.
I don't know about that. Have you seen these legs? I've seen Dossie's little skinny legs. So.
I've actually seen Dossie play football. He actually's got a nice little kick on him.
Yeah.
Not last week, I'll tell you that much.
Got the W though?
Got the dubs.
Well,
had to bust out the X-Blades though because of the weather, so I didn't get to wear the career savers, and that's why I'm blaming on my 20%.
Hey, when do you think commentators are going to stop talking about long stops in wet weather on the TV? Do you reckon that'll ever be a thing? Or is that just like basketball backgrounds? And
it's actually one I almost agree with though, because I'm a person that wears short stops and I do have to change them.
That was more so that just every time it's wet, that's all they ever talk about. But anyway, we didn't get it this weekend.
You really can't buy them anywhere.
Well, they're legal, aren't they?
Oh, like metal ones,
metal
but
ones.
they make like longer ones, but
okay.
it's not easily accessible.
Anyway, well, this is a good start. We're talking shit, just like if anyone listens to the Waiver Wire this week as well, it's just me and Kaes talking shit, waiting for Dossie to turn up. So we've continued on in good form.
Welcome, Dos.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the studio. And Kaes, again, welcome back for this week. Good to have you back. Have you got over your loss in the Keeper League, home league?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it much since.
Yeah.
It's a loss we needed. So, like, as Simon Goodwin said before the game on the week in which he thought they were going to win, it's just a loss. We need to bounce back. We're galvanised from that. So,
yeah, what happens
hopefully I won't lose the week after like the D's did. But kind of was channeling my inner goodie.
Okay.
So, do you win the flag last year as well? So you're...
No, I haven't.
No, so you don't compare yourself to the D's.
I've never won a flag.
No.
Anyway.
Who would I be like? I don't even know.
You'd be like, maybe like before they were shit, like the Crows who just were like mediocre all the time, but never bottoming out, never going up. But now you don't really bottom out like they do. They bottom out for the first time.
Probably more like Port, where I thought I'd win the next 3 out of 5 flags, but probably
that's
won't
just
win
Ken
any.
Hinkley. That's not the supporters. We're realistic supporters. All right, just Ken Hinkley thinks that. That's why he thinks he deserves a job for even longer. But anyway, let's get stuck into it. Dossie, have you picked up your new jocks yet from the post office or what?
I missed the deadline.
So what happened?
Not joking. I don't know, actually.
I think they sent him back.
Yeah,
the sponsors are going to like, Dossie didn't even want his bloody product.
Probably going straight back.
You
to
probably just cost
Manscaped.
us a sponsorship here,
I
Dos.
know.
Oh.
I really, you know how much I love my jocks as well.
Yeah.
I would have wanted them.
Just what went on, Dossie? Just couldn't find time in your busy schedule to get to the post office?
Yeah, well, I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man, but
How many hours did you put into Elden Ring like, the last few months?
Post office isn't open between like 11 p.m. and 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's true. That's a different time frame, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all right. Manscaped going to be wondering what's going on when the best jocks ever rock up on their door. Like,
I think it was today, but I thought it was yesterday.
Oh, God.
So, I missed it.
Good with time management, old Dossie, but that's all right. But anyway, if you haven't heard, the Kings of Crotch Comfort, Manscaped, have spent 2 years designing and developing the most comfortable boxer briefs out there. Well, I've had the honour of testing them. Kaes, did you wrestle yours back from the washing machine a few weeks ago?
I did, actually.
Got them back? You won? I'm wearing mine.
Nice.
I'm wearing mine right now, actually. But they're so breathable.
planned.
Gills for your groin. We mentioned that. But yeah, the dual pouch that's trademarked, it's a serious piece of kit. So yeah,
Now that I don't have them, how can I get my hands on a pair?
Well, great segue, Dossie. You can head to manscaped.com and use the code KEEPIT20, get 20% off and free shipping worldwide. And now you can buy your own jocks because you missed the deadlines.
I'll have to get on, mate. Doing it as we speak.
Yeah, do it right by the brand. Make them look like you actually want the jocks, and yeah, that'd be good. All right, stop doing that. All right, this is getting silly. Let's get into the round rewind. Cute. Notice your little drink bottle there, Dossie?
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Looking after it, mate.
Appreciate it.
Thought you might need that. Kaes brought his soda stream.
Is that what do you drink? Soda water.
Have you seen that meme? It's like a desert and like someone's like crawling on the ground parched and then like he crawls up to like a sparkling water stand and just crawls past it.
What's wrong with soda water? Soda water's great.
It's terrible stuff.
I don't know. How do you do that?
So good.
Normal water. What's wrong with normal water?
I just happen to have it's just cold.
The Geelong rep says, yo, the thoughts on us. Geelong. I don't know.
Yeah, you're building.
Yeah,
I think you might genuinely challenge for the flag this year.
You look good for 4 weeks and drop a winnable game and then everyone will doubt you again.
Just need Maxi Holmes back in there. But now that the Zote has really hit form.
Yeah, true. The Zote is the catalyst for success. All right. Cool. Let's get back in the pod.
Hopefully. Is he 2G'd? I know you've already talked about it at the top. Sorry.
The round rewind. All right, first game of the week goes to Dossie Geelong versus Western Bulldogs. Talk us through it, mate.
Boy, have we got a good game to talk about here. So not only was it a good game of footy to watch, I finally got a good one there, boys, although the Friday nights have been pretty good to me. It was the jewel of the year, the decade, maybe the century.
What are you talking about?
The meeting of two goats.
Oh, God.
Which two?
All right, listen to sick of hearing about goats, I swear.
Zach Guthrie and
Oh, God.
B-dubs, Bailey Williams versus the Zote. Oh, it was so nice to see them both on the opposing sides. Well, it would have been nice to see them running out together and being teammates there, but tell you what, both played extraordinary games as well. So we saw Zach Guthrie ton up Kaes, our boy. Well, my boy. I don't know. You're a sort of adoptive father, but he's my boy. look, he was outstanding. Even before Tom Stewart went down, I think he was still getting his hands on the footy. And then Tom Stewart went down, I think it was in the second quarter maybe. Trying to think back, but he got subbed out early, and then the Zote just took over, taking that intercept role. He finished with 11 marks, 19 touches, 3 tackles, just getting the Cats over the line by himself, single-handedly. On the other side, the other GOAT battle, Bailey Williams, playing wing as he has for the last month. So that's 4 weeks now in that wing role. And
He's Auto 2G4P.
No, because he hasn't scored over 80 in all those weeks.
I thought it was 4 80s in a row. Oh, one was a 60, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first one was a 60.
My
but
bad.
if you remember back to our podcast, Dossie flagged it as a great role change and to get on.
Absolutely.
Wind back the tape.
I'm not doubting that.
No,
Dossie.
you guys didn't believe it, though, at the time. You weren't Believers.
The issue is, Dossie, that you talk these guys up too much when they are shit. You're like the boy who cried wolf, really. And it's like when they do come good, we just don't believe you. That's the problem.
Well, Bailey Williams certainly has come good. 21 disposals, 7 marks, 3 tackles, 84 points in this one. So he's one off,
The boy who cried goat.
Yeah, basically.
Look, he's the GOAT. You guys big fans of both of these players long term? I mean, Bailey Williams, though, the problem is he'll probably, if he stays in this role, which is good for his scoring, he's probably going to lose defender status at the
That
end
was
of the
going to be
season.
my point. Obviously, I'm, all in on the Zote. We both share custody. But, yeah, I'm worried about Bailey Williams because if you're saying he's 82 average, 88 was his best across this period, as a mid-only, are we interested in that next year?
I think you just enjoy the ride for now. And also, he's building into this role, so he's only played it for a month. Can he get better? I don't know. Like, you got to factor in who's out of the team. He's taken Rourke Smith's spot basically, so I don't think that's too worrying.
Lachie Hunter.
But Lachie Hunter's out as well. So does he come back into the team at some point? And that's something to monitor. But yeah, just enjoy the ride. It's not like he would have cost you anything. So
Just in the chat, we're getting Jack Henry's name brought up. Do you think there's any danger with him coming back into the
for the
Zote?
Zote,
Yeah.
there probably is because the Zote's always been fringe, even though clearly I think he's got a role in our minds, but in the coaching staff, perhaps not. So, yeah, it's always a worry with Zach Guthrie, unfortunately.
Thanks to the Geelong rep in the chat for that one.
No, that's a good point and something you should. But long term,
enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
Enjoy the ride.
it's weird though. He's 23
Surf's up,
years old. Are you guys like? Would you say he does sort of say he gets dropped? Would you still kind of consider just keeping him on your radar and seeing where things go if he's
fantasy
in Geelong?
potential, yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Anyway, let's move on.
Buku Kaes. I only want to flag a roll change because his score was
A whopping 34.
was dog shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to purely flag that he was backup ruck. So they dropped Sweet. He went into backup ruck, and we saw him in the VFL score pretty well as a forward ruck role. So in those keeper leagues that we've talked about, people are always asking who's the next ruck and things like that they can pick up. I know lots of people seem to be looking for these next ruckmen. Look, it was a 34, but he's played that role in the VFL and scored pretty well. So if you're one of these weird leagues with 2 rucks or rucks that you have to hold on your rookie list for years, whatever, look, Kaes might get a ruck status down the line.
The only issue is Dossie after looking at some VFL scores on the weekend. The Shack Attack, Josh Shackey, they moved him up forward this week. He kicked 5 sausage rolls and he pinch hit in the ruck, chopping out Jordan Sweet.
Plus,
Dropped.
it's been shown
So-
time and time again that you need to be pure ruck in AFL to score well in AFL fantasy. Very rarely does a ruck forward score well.
Shackey 125 in the VFL. Maybe curtains for Buku.
Move on. Past that whopping 34, let's get on to the next player.
Brandon Parfitt, 83 points. Look, he hasn't fully exploded, and I think that's just the point I wanted to make. I think our expectations, my expectations anyway, were probably a bit higher than this, considering you don't have a Dangerfield there. You got no Selwood, sort of the aging Selwood in there. He's got 3 scores over 80 in a row, which is obviously
serviceable,
but he's mid only in the things that I've seen. Is he mid only in Ultimate? I can't remember.
He's mid forward in Ultimate.
Okay, so in Ultimate Footy, it's okay for this year, but you'd be worried going forward. I don't think he'll keep that status. He's only mid only in AFL Fantasy at the moment.
Even for this year, he's just, I think today, ruled out for short to medium term with a hand injury that he was carrying into this game as well.
Okay, well, that's interesting to know.
Next.
Tom Atkins.
Here we go.
17 tackles last week. Didn't have 17 this week, but scored 82 points, 20 disposals, 4 marks, 4 tackles, and he's a must play while Danger's out. Led equal amount of centre bounce.
Do you think that's the
attendances.
catalyst to that?
The catalyst?
Catalyst, like Danger. I've said that a few times today, actually, haven't I?
Yeah, I was making a pun. It's all right.
Dangerfield being out Good one.
F doesn't really get jokes.
No.
You have to explain them.
No,
Yeah.
sorry. I don't get. I just think in my head that there's no way he's making that terrible joke right here, right now.
Well, you
Having
just
met
mentioned.
Dos.
Well, if you just mentioned Parfitt's out, then that obviously increases that role security.
But do you think Dangerfield is the reason why Atkins has been scoring so well the last 3 weeks, or there's been no other role changes in
Well, you're the man that tracks those CBAs in your articles. Did you notice a instant change?
Well,
because I would have thought
Dangerfield's
so.
trash anyway, so I don't really know.
Yeah, but he's
like,
been injured this year, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
why. But yeah, I wouldn't hold high hopes for him. Like,
Yeah.
I think you've just got to notice the time to jump
I
off
honestly
and the
wasn't
time to play.
questioning your call. I was just curious.
No,
all.
that's fine. And
Yeah.
I think the point is there, though, like once he stops getting that role, you got to know to stop playing him if the centre bounces dry up, because he's one of these guys that relies on him. Actually, just quickly, a player that does rely on centre bounces to score well as well, Mark Blitzarves, is the dream over now?
Oh yeah, didn't Stanley come back in and
Stanley
he went back
came
to
back in, so
It was more the.
There was another defender out, wasn't it? Colin Jasny.
Colin Jasny out.
Jasny.
do you reckon that was the big catalyst? So
Hopefully,
the big
but-
catalyst.
Yeah, good one. Good one.
Were we trying to hit a quota?
So you actually reckon Blitzarves, like, you're pretty safe with him for the rest of the year?
No, not safe by any means, but I just don't think it's the reason. Stanley's not the reason he scored.
Like,
poorly.
you wouldn't be trading if somebody in your league.
I'd be trading, but like we've got a guy in our league. He offers them up every second day, and everyone's just like, nope.
Yeah, you're not getting anything for him, are you? Yeah, that's unfortunate. All right, well, to wrap it out, I had Brad Close. He's now becoming a keeper league favourite, I
I'll
think.
put him on the waiver wire podcast. Three weeks of 80 plus, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Well, he's
he's
averaging 80
81 in his
three.
last three.
Yeah.
But his disposals have jumped up in those last 3 weeks as well. And I'd be interested for Cats fans that have been watching it closely. I just would like to know if message the Keeper League. Let us know. Is there
Watching
something
it closely.
Is there something? Yeah. Yeah, he does get it. That was an unintentional pun. Look, yeah, if you've noticed something, let us know, because I'd like to be interested to know if that's sort of been a shift in having a bit of a role change. But we saw it early in the year, and yeah, I just like the way I like watching him play too, which makes him a nice Keeper League player.
It's the sleeves.
Yeah.
Must be the sleeves. We had a big conversation about the sleeves on the
They're beautiful.
on the waiver wire podcast.
Leg
while
dogs,
waiting for
leg
Dos.
dogs would be very happy with that conversation.
All right, I'm going to power through this game. Adelaide versus West Coast, because
Why?
what a piece of trash I had to watch. Not a lot to take away. A few interesting points,
Mighty
actually.
Coasters.
Darcy Fogarty had 84 points. Looked super powerful. Burnt off Witherden with pace early, which I thought was very, very funny. Actually outran him, which was hilarious to watch.
Witherden
But-
is not fast.
I know, but it was just funny watching this huge unit just like power away from Witherden.
right.
It was very funny.
Enjoy your laughs.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a key position forwards always go big against West Coast. So yeah, that's just to be expected. Nothing much more
In
to
the
read
wet,
into
that's
it.
the tip of the cap.
It is a tip of the cap. Oh, obviously that's why it's there. But yeah, don't read into it too much. Wait for him to do it 3 times in a row before you even consider it, and it won't happen. Anyway, this is the more interesting one. So Jackson Haitley had 83 points. Now, started like an absolute house on fire. I don't think he scored a point in the last quarter. I think he only had 1 point in the last quarter. Copped a huge hit. I thought he might actually be a bit injured at one stage, but he got up and played on. But the flag, only one CBA this week.
Yeah.
Played on the wing. Still scored okay. But yeah, I don't know whether the hit, combined with
How
the
early was
role
the
change,
hit?
like start of the fourth. So it was actually did kind of coincide with him not scoring pretty well, but he played on. So
So they've literally reverted back to their
Yeah, they just
3-man,
went
4-man.
back to crouch in the guts again.
yeah, so interesting.
But
But
I think just from a perspective of the Crows side of things, don't you think they just, for this one, the last month or 5 weeks, they've been, trying to churn out the youngsters, get them involved. This was a must win against West Coast. Do you
Yeah.
think that's just a one-off? They try and give him more time
Perhaps,
after
yeah.
this one? That's what I think.
The other thing is the conditions. It was pretty wet and miserable in Adelaide.
yeah, fair.
It's probably the game that you want the bigger bodies in around the ball because it's a bit more contested. Whereas
Haitley's huge though, man.
I thought you meant more like Saligo and those kind of guys.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. But yes, I do. That is the Haitley one is a bit interesting.
yeah, anyway, only one CBA. So yeah, no, bit of a flag. I would wait and see what happens though on that one. I'm not too worried just yet. If it happens again this week, then it's panic stations, I think. Mitch Hinge had 68 points, just a nice role in defence. Just wanted to watch because I know from when I watched the Crows earlier, he's been more of a wing earlier in the season. I don't know if he's been in defence for a while now, but yeah, it was actually a pretty nice role. And yeah, he scored really well early, just kind of tapered off towards the end of the game. So
That's his MO. I reckon every time I was watching him, like I'd be noting him down in the first quarter. Oh, Mitch Hinge.
Yeah, he
He'd
does
be
get
on
big
like
early.
27
Yeah,
in the
you're
first
right,
quarter.
actually.
And just finishes on like
Yeah.
a 50.
Patrick Parnell, not bad game for a 12-year-old. Scored pretty well, 56 points. Did you see
Youthful
him?
looks. No, I saw.
He's-
Yeah, he
he's-
looks like a
he's
youngster.
tiny.
How'd he go? Because he's in my classic side. Is there any job security?
It's really hard to say. Like, he actually looked pretty good. Like, off the halfback flank, he didn't look out of place. I think he offers more on the attacking side of things than someone like Luke Brown does, but probably not as much on the defensive side of things. So I think there might be a case where he could play further. The thing is, like, the first big contest he kind of had, it floored him. And he was out injured for the rest of the game, subbed out of the game. So it was only a big
contest though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big contest, but he was like always going to come off second best. He could be a bit of a liability in those.
I was just a big fan of that kick to handball ratio.
Yeah, he did look good. They did look
14 to 1.
But yeah, like I said, first real contest, gets a corky and subbed out of the game. It's just not great for someone who looks so tiny as well. Might need a bit more time to put some meat on the bones, I think. But he's every chance of playing after the bye, Dossie. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does go out, just given the timing of everything, given the corky then the bye. And the last one here, Harry Schoenberg came on for Parnell, so he had the last 10 minutes and didn't touch the footy case. So that's 0 points. Counts to his average at the start of the year.
That hurts. He did come on and score 80 in the Sandful afterwards.
Yeah, he did actually, because they played straight after Adelaide Oval, so just ran straight back out. I love that stuff. That's like me, where I used to play B grade and then go play C grade afterwards, and it really used to piss off the other C grade opposition. But anyway, Tom Barrass, moving on to some West Coast. Tip of the cap here, 85 points. Ball was down there a lot, had 10 marks, 13 kicks, but yeah. I know there's a case for these kind of defenders will pop up, especially with McGovern out too as well. Yeah, so that kind of helped him out too. He was just kind of floating in the holes and taking a few marks. Jake Waterman, he looked okay in patches in a half forward role. Does a few silly things, but he's one player. I'm keen to see if he can lock down a spot in the rebuild.
Yeah, I reckon the next couple of years is going to be Waterman's season. Just in terms of that keeper league player that's not going to go early in drafts at all, or maybe probably not going to be kept, and you might be able to get that like late bit of value for a no-name kind of.
Yeah, I really hope so. Yeah. He's one I've liked the look of for a long time. Just not sure whether he's going to make it in the fantasy world, that's all. And Greg Clark finally had 71 points. More inside footy this week, inside midfield time, with the 8 CBAs, and scored slightly better. Had 10 tackles in the wet, which was the main reason why he scored so well. So put up most of his score from tackles, really. So yeah, it was just good to see him actually have that side to his game, which we know he had. It's more though we've just seen him play on the wing a lot recently.
Yeah, so. I think Holmesy on the pod was saying he had like high time on ground early and then finished with 64% as well.
Yeah, okay. Well,
so it's like,
well, it feels like I didn't actually see him that much out there, but like he still scored.
He's not been the guy we thought he was going to be there, right? I think all of us thought
Michael
there
Barlow
was the word Barlow was brought up, I reckon, on this podcast. Kaes.
There's a few people named as next Michael Barlow, but anyway.
Yeah.
No comment.
No one's going to be the next Michael Barlow.
It's
It's roll.
Yeah.
And like, who would have, like, with all the injuries that the Eagles had to their midfield, you would have thought Clark was like the man, and he was the man for the first game he played where he knocked out a 110 or whatever it was.
Problem is now you've got Yo and Sheed playing in the waffle.
Yeah, and Cully.
Literally. We'll play him ahead of him.
Play him, yeah, eventually. Let's move on to Gold Coast versus North Melbourne. So this is probably one of the biggest names of the week on the Keeper League podcast anyway. It's Wil Powell. So he had 101 points and he was playing on a wing. So the last few weeks he's been playing in defence. His whole career he's played defence really. So last week they had Sharp and Brandon Ellis on both the wings, and I thought this is going to be the wing combo for the rest of the year. It's all said and done. Sharp's finally in. Sharp goes out this week. They chuck Powell on the wing, scores 101 in a role that just looked like it really, really suited him. Weller got injured this week, so I'm not sure if he goes back into defence for him, if Bose comes back in, if Butterick just gets a bump. I don't really know, but Powell looked good on the wing, and I think there is some potential there. Listed as a defender, could have a good back end of the season. So if he's floating around your waiver wires, which I think he is in a lot of leagues, I reckon get on now just in case he does play this role for the rest of the season.
I've been huge on Powell for,
We all have, I reckon.
I reckon all of us were thinking he was, I definitely had him pretty high.
Kaes picked him in Classic. That's how
I probably wouldn't want to see how high I had him in my preseason rankings, to be honest, because I saw him picking up kick-ins and going, being a great...
I might too, man. Don't worry.
A great play. So, if he's in a fantasy-friendly role, even though none of the Suns seem to be doing amazing this year, but, I'd be definitely backing that in for a pickup.
Just on that Lockie Weller injury, so Conor Butterick I think is probably the next guy in line to get the bump in defence. So he had 84 points, and this week he didn't really rely on +6s like he has in the last few weeks. Actually found the footy a bit more, and I think he'll absorb Weller's kick-ins as well, so he'll see a bit of a bump there in the scoring. But I think the big watch this week is whether Jack Bowes comes into the side this week, because he looks like the best like-for-like replacement.
Just Jack Bowes, or?
What do you mean?
Is there anyone else that you bring back into the
Sam
team?
Flanders.
No, I can't think of any other name.
Andrew.
Surely Elijah Hollands is due. He's probably, I don't really know.
yeah.
Not any other player that I can
Chrissy
think
Burgess.
of. No. Yeah. No,
Laurie Atkins. Fair any with just another 35 touches.
Oh, that's who you're talking
in
about.
the VFL.
Yeah, no, I can't think of
Hashtag
that.
Stewie out.
B for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Moving on to North Melbourne. So Taron Thomas, I actually tweeted, I think he was on like 36 points at quarter time or something like that. So I was like, he's responded to the B2P. Obviously listens to the podcast. Had 77 in the end. But yeah, started real hot in the midfield. Just faded, but so did all of North Melbourne. Like, that's what North Melbourne do. So I don't know. I think it's more just playing for North. You can't score well. Jed Anderson, Dossie and I, we had a chat on the phone on Saturday morning talking about Jed Anderson, how he's going to carve it up in his natural homeland of Darwin. Had 74 points. Like, you take that as a forward in a keeper league for sure, especially if you held him. But it should have been an 80 plus. Really, he had a lot of free kicks against him. He was just spear tackling blokes by the end because he was not having a good time. Yeah, actually, so he looked very frustrated.
Plays for North. So
yeah, exactly. You know, he literally he actually ran through something.
Are they going to turn and? Are they going to turn it around? And I mean turn it around just in the sense of, are they going to start playing a bit more competitively like they did last year so we can have any scorers from North? What's their their leading average would be like 90 max.
Yeah, like every time, like, you know, I think Anderson was probably like their third. Like, we were texting each other after you finished playing footy, and I was like, Anderson's only on 68, but he's like the third highest scorer for North. I think this was like a 3/4 time type thing.
It's like even Simpkin, who was like awesome last year, is just, you know, sort of trotting along.
Aaron Hall, 89.
What's this?
In the
That's
BFL.
the highest. No, that's the highest.
The average.
Oh, the highest average, and he's not playing.
He's not even playing.
Jai Simpkin, 88.9.
There's quite a few rumours floating around.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players average over 80.
Yeah, they just can't get the ball, or do anything on defensively.
A few rumours floating around that there might be a new coach very, very soon.
Yeah.
Interim coach
Ken
at North
Hinkley.
Melbourne. I hope so. But, so we might see some role changes or some players being played a bit differently in the coming weeks. That's just something to think about with some North players. Yeah. A lot of groundswell there about...
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Tom Powell season.
Maybe. Let's move on to Melbourne versus Sydney. I wish I watched more of this game because it looked like a ripper.
It was a good game. Very, very, very good game. A couple big powerhouses going at it in the D's, and definitely not the Dons. The D's and the Swans. Sam Reid, 114, tip of the cap to him. 3 goals, 16 touches, 10 tackles. That's unheard of. He was just a genuine presence up forward, especially without Buddy. We obviously know that Melbourne concede a lot of points to key forwards as well, so it just kind of come to show that. The unfortunate thing with Sam Reid is his body is as reliable as a Balinese Rolex. He could be out next week with some weird injury. The other thing, he's been scoring 60s before this game, so I think that's a bit of a better guide. But I think tip of the cap to Sam at the moment. Logan Mcdonald is one you should be excited about in keeper leagues. I reckon 79 points from him. He showed some really nice glimpses. Just dominated the waffle as a junior a couple of years ago. That's kind of been forgotten. But I think he's going to be a genuine talent. 3 goals. He had 16 touches too. A key forward I think you can kind of be quite confident in. Not right now or not next year, but I reckon in a couple of years' time, when, especially because Sydney will be genuinely humming by then with their list they've got, he's going to kick a lot of goals.
He looks like one of the rare key forwards that might be sort of a mainstay in our fantasy teams for a few years at least, I think. I know you're not a big fan of the key forwards or defenders, but
I like a few of them.
I think the way he moves and can get up the ground a bit too.
He's big, but he's nimble.
Yeah, he is.
Key defenders, I don't hate them. They just go a lot higher in drafts than they should. That's all.
If you think about it, you got guys like Warner, Mills, McInerney. You got so many good players going to kick it to him for Blakey. Yeah. Pete Laddams, 48 points. He had a really, really tough night against Max Gawn, who was just, had the flames coming off him, NBA, whatever.
We went
Dragon
Ball Z style. That's what we're talking about on the Wave Wire podcast.
Yeah.
That's how the sidetrack we got.
Dragon Ball Z. I thought Pete Laddams actually competed pretty well, but probably just shows how far he is off the genuine elite in a game like this. 13 touches and 16 hitouts. It probably wasn't as bad as a 48-point game suggests, but not sure what's going to happen with the Swans rucks there. Jimmy Rowbottom, he had 82 points. The highest CBA attendance for Sydney, interestingly enough. 20 touches and 8 tackles. I think he is their their kind of grunt man in there long term. I think there was a few questions asked about where he might fit in that Sydney side, but I think he's generally the guy they want in there as the extractor, and then they've got
is he going to be a high scorer,
etc.
as a result?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at like a Ben Cunnington, old school Hugh Greenwood style, someone who can tackle, someone who's a few handballs, that kind of thing, but never a big 100-pluser.
Not a Fiorini type. A big 100-pluser.
No, he
Was
plays
he doing
AFL.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Was he doing a role on anyone in the midfield?
He played a bit on Oliver.
Yeah, he's been doing that a bit actually, hasn't
Yeah.
he? He's been doing a few
But I
tags
think,
and stuff.
but like to me, he doesn't have like a natural flair to his game, if that makes sense.
Is that why he had, like, has he been one of the leading attendees? Because I reckon he hasn't been the top one. Would that be kind of why maybe for a once-off he gets his...
I don't know. I haven't really looked back at the stats because I don't believe in them, but I just found it interesting that I just found it interesting that he had the most out of guys like Mills, etc.
No, it is interesting.
Yeah. And lastly, it's actually Nick Blakey's world, and Jake Lloyd is just living in it. Jake Lloyd put a fork in him. He is done.
Outscored.
Yes, but if you watch the game, Jakey Lloyd had a few +6s late in the game, and
that's his jam. That's what you want.
No. I'm talking about the movement that's coming. Nick Blakey takes 5-1 kick-ins over Jake Lloyd. They look for Nick Blakey. Nick Blakey's moving. Jake Lloyd is still a fine player. I'm saying sell higher while you can.
Nah, well, yeah, I do agree that he's not going to get as high scores because the kick-ins are going down, but he doesn't actually need them to put up. Like, look at the games he's turned up this year. He hasn't put big kicking numbers in.
He's just not turning up anymore.
You know what happened? Like, 2
years ago, Jake Lloyd would have had 130.
Kick-ins are overrated for defenders.
He's sharing the stats around.
Of course he is, but you're still not trading Jake Lloyd. Like he's not Dunsky, like you said a few. Gonski was like what you said a few weeks ago. He's going to be a 90 average defender that you want to play as a D1 every week.
He's gone.
Row bottom 87%, up from his 49% average for the season.
So maybe it was a bit of a Oliver job this week. On to Melbourne. James Jordan, 87 from him. He was really impressive. Was in everything, especially early. 24 touches and a goal. I think him and Tom Sparrow are going to be great players. I think if they were at another club where they had a bit more responsibility, we'd be talking about them a lot more. But they just have to play behind guys like Oliver, Petrarca, and the like. So if you own him, definitely.
Yeah, Jimbo's got a lot of fantasy game about him.
There's one I wanted to jump on like 3 or 4 weeks ago to trade, and I just never got around to actually offering anything up, and I really should have done it. But anyway. And lastly, obviously, this guy's way too good for the pod. It's Christian Salem. He had 94 points. He just did not miss a beat on his return. 24 touches, 9 marks, and 542 metres gained. Now, it was an even spread of kick-ins across the board from the Demons. He had 4. Jake Bowie, he had 3. Bowie.
Adam Tomlinson had 3. And Angus Brayshaw had 3. But the interesting one tonight, so I thought, Salem coming in probably pushes Brayshaw up to a wing. No, they both played across half-back. Now, this, my friend, directly influenced young Jacob Bowie's game. I think his fantasy output is up the shitter as of now.
I think the problem was, time on ground, which could be something that we see lowered down. So 69% time on ground in this one. Still 60 points. That's good points per minute.
I just feel that he is now relegated to being a defender. He's not
like
got
lockdown.
He's not going to have the
No, you're not
run.
wrong. And he's more of a stash now than you'll be able to weekly play him. You're just going to have to probably stream some people in that slot. And I still think, would you agree, long term, he's still one of the better young defenders around the comp.
I would agree.
I agree.
He's in the conversation. He's definitely not at the Jake Lloyd level of get rid of him. He's you can invest some time into him. But I think Christian Salem's back there, and it's standard procedure. Hawthorn Collingwood, another good game. Absolutely sensational game, actually.
It was. I got to see a fair bit of this one.
I got to watch no footy on the weekend. So.
How good was that?
That was a great game.
Yeah. Especially in the wet, they just kept coming. You kind of thought Hawks were done early, and then they come back. Darcy Goterton. Darcy Goterton.
Who are you referring to here?
That'd be Darcy Cameron. 133 points from him. Should Brody Grundy be looking for a new club?
Or like fantasy wise, or actual ruckman?
What's that? Kaes Corns.
No, he's still not a great ruckman, but Jeezy just absolutely gives his all around the ground. Just racks up touches. I know he's been 2G for Pete, but I think obviously Grundy's going to come back in and be the number one dog. I think the amount of confidence that Cameron would have got from this last kind of 2 months.
I know you're in part joking, but we were talking about this on the pod in terms of, where stocks go, because he's obviously a hugely popular classic player as well, Cameron, at the moment, having that forward ruck status. What happened when Grundy returns, and also just in your keepers right now, if you're a Grundy owner, like, are you pretty nervous? And I mean, I don't know how could you sell, or would you consider selling, or like, what the hell do you do right now? Because you would have spent such a high capital on picking him, especially in a startup keeper league. And now you've got to deal with potentially the fact that Cameron's going to have, even if not, this amazing, ridiculous role, but he's going to have an increased role, surely.
I think it's like Cameron's scoring is probably going to be more consistent than Grundy's is going forward, because Cameron can play that ruck forward role, still score okay. Grundy can only really play the ruck role, so he's not going to get that 100% time in there as much.
Yeah, I think that's probably more of the thing. It's not that split where we've seen. It was basically, as that kind of badly worded tweet suggested about Mason Cox, like, the reason he's never had any hit outs because Grundy rucked 95% of the time, whereas Cameron's shown that he's more than capable, so it's going to affect Grundy more than it's going to affect Cameron.
Kaes, I've got a fantastic comparison for you. Is Darcy Cameron hang on a second. Is Darcy Cameron Brodie Grundy's Nick Blakey?
Oh. So you're Jake Lloyding Brodie Grundy.
Well, wouldn't you? At the moment?
Hang on. Darcy Cameron's 26.
Have absolutely lost it here, guys.
26. How old's Brodie Grundy?
The next thing
28.
would be just like where's their contracts at. I'm talking long-term keeper. Like Grundy, like I said, Grundy's your first-round pick.
I think what was going to happen is, I don't know. See, this is what's interesting. Cameron's out of contract, and they're paying huge money for Grundy at the moment, right? So they're going to have to up probably Cameron's contract to keep him. So I reckon this is a big call, but like what could actually happen is, what if they think about offloading Grundy, like a bit of a salary cap dump, and just rolling with Cameron full time
to pay to Goey?
Yeah, well, who knows? Or do they just trade, which is probably more likely, is
somebody just picks up
Cameron. They trade Cameron and get a high draft pick and cash in on that while they're rebuilding.
We're probably like every talk shok AFL talk show this week is what they're talking about.
Exactly.
So.
We're talking about it from a very different point of view.
I reckon that, because we're talking about the fantasy implications, but I reckon the most likely thing is that Cameron's going to demand too much in his next contract, which is at the end of this year. I think he's still unsigned. I'm pretty sure. I should have researched this because I've been saying it for 3 weeks. But I think he'll demand too much in the contract that Collingwood might be forced to trade him, but get good capital in return. I think that's the sense.
2022 is Cameron's contract runs out.
Yeah.
Jeez. So, good time to hit some form.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on to still side bottom here at 97, and after a stinking run of form, he is finally coming good. So he had 77, 91 and 97 in his last 3 games for an 88 average, 24 touches and a goal. Now, to the eye, it looks like the Pies are using him a lot more, which is probably a reason that we've seen a bit of a dip in the Josh Dacos scoring, because Dacos was high, side bottom was low. Now it's almost a bit of role reversal, and I think... a couple of weeks ago, I think Sidebottom was just looking like he lacked a bit of intent and passion, but I think the Pies are up and about, and he's obviously super classy and uses the ball beautifully. So I think if they're going to progress and potentially make finals, I think he's going to be one who's going to be quite a key cog, and I think that might have been a bit of a switch in strategy from McRae to kind of maybe go through Sidebottom a bit more than Josh Dacos. So he could be worth a sneaky trade if you're in the window. Centre forward status.
I'll tell you what, on my little league with our small roster spots, got dropped to the wire, and Dossie pounced about a month ago.
I think you've mentioned that every week since as well.
I have. And I'll continue to do so.
Good on you, Doss.
Tip of the cap, tip of the beans to me.
And last one for the Pies, Ollie Henry, 68 points. I know we've talked about him a bit, but each week I watch him play, just kind of gives me greater confidence of future greatness for young Oliver. Didn't really influence the game until late, but still managed to kick 2 and have 12 touches for that 68-point score. I love him long term.
39 points in that last quarter of what we just said was an absolute close game, and had 2 shots on goal in the last 10 minutes to seal the game, and did kick 1 out of the 2. So
I like him a lot. He's got class. On to the Hawks. Liam Shields, he had 89 points, really came to play in his milestone match. Look, he's been down on form this year, but it was an encouraging return to a bit of form with 22 touches. He's only 64% owned, so maybe one to have a look at. Could be a low buy low play too. I can't really tell if he was just getting up for his 250th.
And does he play from now on? Do they put him out to pasture?
But you say the thing is, like, Warple's out, and I know he didn't play in, he played a lot on the wing, but like...
Shields has been playing the wing for a lot of his career now.
Sorry, I was talking about Warple.
Sorry.
Sorry, like Warple's out. Have they just kind of used him as their bigger body kind of utility around the stoppage around the wing? If they're trying to push for finals, are they, maybe he's one who keeps playing. I'm not sure. I'm a bit torn on this.
I don't know. They seem like they roll a few through there. Like, you got Will Day, you've got Harry Morrison. You've got you've seen Dylan Moore playing up there a lot more as well. Like, he had a few wing attendances from what I only saw probably 15 minutes of the game, but I definitely saw him go to a wing attendance there. So I assume that was happening throughout the game.
Morrison is the lock on the wing.
It's interesting. Bramble could play there, but yeah,
anyone could play there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but he might be worth a cheeky look, especially if you're in contention. He can put out some good, consistent scores. Lockie Bramble, speaking of him, he had 84 points. I love the role from him on the weekend, across half back. A little iffy at times with his disposal, but did have a game-high 6 kick-ins. And considering all the big names are back there and, Impey, Day, Bramble's getting his fair share of footy and demanding it too. I reckon Sam Mitchell likes him a lot. He was having a really good pre-season until he got injured too. He's only 40% owned, so one to look at on the waiver wire. Will Day, mentioned him. He had 80 points. None of that inside midfield time, which we have seen the last couple of weeks. He's back to half-back. Just looking the part of a genuine top-quality player. He just looks like a classy young man.
Just want that scoring to pick up 10 points per game, and then
he's had a delayed start to the season.
True,
and I think you just
true.
need to give him a bit of a leeway.
Yeah, hopefully it comes good for finals for my Keeper League team.
And lastly, Chad Wingard, 65 points. Now, he's becoming a bit of a non-event in fantasy circles. His top score this season, 70. He's averaging 55. You can't say it's not from lack of opportunity. He had 11 CBAs on the weekend. He just can't score.
Yeah,
but he's unfieldable at the moment.
He's been like that, and then he'll have the final month of the season. He'll go massive, and then win some in a grand final.
He's 28. What do? You're going hard. You don't, because you don't trade. But if you're in someone who likes the trades position, who wants to win a flag, would I go hard for Chad Wingard?
No,
or no,
you wouldn't. No,
okay.
Not what you've seen so
what does
far.
go hard mean? I'd buy low for sure.
If it was you'd probably sell Max Gawn or something for him, because that's the type of trade you usually do.
I'm a risk taker, Hef.
You give up your best players for spice.
Absolutely. He's another guy, along with Sidebottom, that I snapped up off the wire to a little bit less success about a month ago as well. And so obviously owners are frustrated, as they should be. I am. 9 disposals in that last quarter, which was hotly contested. 32 points, only behind Ollie Henry.
So you're telling me he had 33 points for the rest of the game?
Oh, yeah, that's right. But that's the thing, though. He has this in him. And that was the quarter that he had the most centre bounces for Hawthorn that quarter, 5 centre bounces. So he had 11 for the game, 5 in the last quarter, 32 points. He's clearly one of the guys that they need in there if they want to actually compete. And I think he's a nice buy low candidate. He always seems to turn it on for a month or two. And if you get that right heading into finals, you'll be laughing.
I only heard this on the radio, but can someone talk me through his he faked being injured and then got up and played on or something like that?
Oh, no, he actually did. He stood under
it.
He stood under a ball really well and got absolutely crunched. And then while they were remonstrating with, I think it was Jeremy Howe, he ploughed him. He was dead, and then he just stood up and just ran into goal.
Yeah, and he did the jiggling thing as well.
He stood under that ball well.
I just heard on the radio they were just complaining about how he pretended he was dead, and then he did.
Hey, how does this last 5 rounds? If you want a final specialist for a regular season, but AFL fantasy final specialist, how does this sound from last year? 86, 147, 103, 95, 116.
I reckon if you go through his career though, as well, he's done that in multiple years.
Yeah, but he hasn't done that under Sam Mitchell.
He's done that in multiple years. Well, pick him up again for this. Yeah, let's do it.
The Sam Mitchell effect
End of
is
year
massive.
special.
Sam Mitchell has his favourites, and it's pretty clear who they are. I don't know if Chad's
it could be different. Could be different. But yeah, like I said, I think even at Port though, he'd do things like that. We'd have a huge last month of the year type thing. And then everyone's like, this guy is going to break out next year, and he's just back to nothing.
I'm buying low. He's only 28.
Anyway, let's move on to the last game of the round. We're only at 40 minutes. We might be able to get this done under an hour, boys. So let's do it.
Next.
Oh, it's me, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Who have we got here? Fremantle, Brisbane. Scored not great, but you guys mentioned him the other week. Cam Rayner, 66 points. Look, I just think for next season and years going forward, I'm sort of pivoting a bit. I'm warming. Yeah, I'm warming.
Well,
he's looking so good now, just in his explosiveness. And I think
this week
building
from
into
Fagan
it.
saying basically that they had to play him up forward a lot more while Danaher was out. Hipwood's come in, freed him up a bit more. Since then, he's gone way back into the more of a 50-50 split. And they said this is what we wanted to do earlier in the season, but we're forced to play him forward a lot more. Now we're going to start booting him up because we can actually get him into the midfield.
And
a lot
I see him. You know how it took a while for, I don't know, he gets compared to these sort of players, but you know how it took a while for like Petrarca to get that 80% mid-time. And it's going to take some time, but long term, the way that he just took on players and was like bursting away from them, I was like, holy shit, like this guy's going to be
And that was last
good.
week as well, like he was doing that too.
So I think there's still an opportunity to try and get this guy, and if you've got a room to stash, because I'm very much warming to him. Dev Rob, unfortunately, I just think this guy could dominate, or not dominate, he could be a really good player on another team. And I just don't think he's going to be able to hold that role necessarily. His pressure's really good, and you can see at times he got sent to Andy Brayshaw late in this game, just a little bit of pressure. But I know a lot of listeners are keen on Dev Rob, and I think it's just going to be a very, very patient process. So probably looking to stash elsewhere, I think. Jared Berry, after that 133 last week, just scored the 71 points, but he started super strong, and I don't know, he's got that wing role locked down. So I don't know. Are you guys still, think he can do some damage? I think he's sort of just getting into his groove a bit.
He's a floozy.
Oh, he's just outside player. That's just what they do. Every now and then they go big, and most of the time they don't.
Looks like he's not going to be going into that inside mix though, with especially a guy like McCluggage. McCluggage is lifting now. He's inside Bailey. Time. Rayner, like you said. Moving on to Freo though, Michael Frederick, 106 points. He looked so good in this, but I couldn't tell. Like, he looks really good in general, but I couldn't tell if he was just boosted up a bit based on his opponent at times, because I watched a few replays. Zorko was his man sometimes, and he would just
behind him.
Zorko's thirst for the own pill was beyond belief. He would
to a point where it could jeopardise his spot on the side, because Zorko's been a bit trash.
Wow, I wouldn't say that, mate.
Okay,
but okay, this is the situation though. The ball goes up at a centre bounce. These two are the dedicated run-in guys. Like, they run in from the square. They just run in, but you watch the replay. Zorko's beelining it for the ball, and then Frederick sort of just does this little curve out to the side, and he was getting used every time. And it happened about 3 times down the stretch in a close-ish game where they broke away.
So every time Fremantle win the contest, he was the outlet.
He was out every time. And it happened over and over again. But anyway, 106 points, showed that he has a ceiling, and he's been a bit up and down, but I think future-wise, he's only 22 years old, and he's got that running capacity. I think he's one of the better runners as well.
I said on the Way Wild podcast, just like worth owning as a streamer as well, just for this
year.
Yeah,
against good matchups.
You got Hawthorn this week as well. So
yeah, don't mind that at all. But yeah, good signs for future. Bailey Goatfield.
Oh, another one.
This is just a tip of the cap. 68 points. Like, he was just an X factor. I think he kicked 3-4 goals or something.
So that's Bailey Banfield for anyone genuinely confused who Bailey
It was
Goatfield
the battle
is.
of the Baileys, though. If you watch this game, Zach Bailey down one end, just holding it down, and then down the other end, the unexpected Bailey Banfield was dominating. And then one final player. I don't even know if this guy's 2G for P, maybe. 123
I think he's
points
very close
for James Aish.
I think that is what I
Another man who loves a sleeve.
The sleeves. Oh, he had to actually take them off in this game. I think it got ripped in a bit of a scuffle, something like that. And he came back after halftime, and I had a few messages. I can't remember who it was, but it was just like, he looks so awkward without the sleeves.
Does he have real skinny arms?
Skinny pipes?
Yeah.
Anti-hef?
I don't think any AFL player has skinny pipes, but I mean, in comparison to other players, maybe.
No, he's a ways off. He had 2 back-to-back hundreds, and then a 50 and a 60, and then 123. So not quite 2G.
And is he mid only this year in all formats, or is he?
No, he's defender.
Oh,
as
that's juice. So maybe also your streamer, but
maybe a good streamer.
Yeah.
Well, very
just
good
been a surprise packer. I didn't expect to see his name sort of pop.
Moved into the midfield a bit more, though, hasn't he? Like, as a
he's had a few
role?
CBAs now and then, but I think this was mostly outside game. I'd have to check the stats, but. He's just like, especially in this game, was just an option everywhere. And in a game against Brisbane, one of the better teams in the comp, he just carved
Guess
up.
how old James Aish is?
26.
Yeah.
Feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah, he has. He's been
third club.
Yeah.
Where else has he been? I can't even
So
remember.
Brisbane,
Drafted to
Collingwood,
Brisbane
and then
forever.
Oh, no shit. So it was the delayed revenge game from...
Delayed revenge game. Yeah.
Once removed.
What was his second club? I'm like lost.
Collingwood.
That's why he went to Freo, because he followed Longmuir there from the
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Man, my memory was so bad there. I couldn't even remember him elsewhere.
So good.
Freo through and
I was
through.
an owner for a long
Leeds
time.
purple.
James Aish. I waited quite a while for him to come good, but had to put him back.
Not
eventually.
long enough, obviously.
Oh yeah. Anyway, we're done.
That was it.
Round one. Cool. If you enjoyed that, please consider becoming a member of the Keep League podcast. Basically, if we
Sean
don't have-
Darcy, B2P.
We'll talk about that next week. Basically, if we don't have members, we don't do the podcast, essentially. So the people that have signed up members, thank you very much for keeping this thing running. You're doing your bit for the people that haven't signed up as well. So our members that do sign up, they get access to our bonus resources, which are weekly CBAs, kick-ins, scores, for and against, projections, the breakout tracker, and much, much more. So you also get the in-season the pod as well, which is the reason why we started this podcast so late tonight, really.
Apparently it was fire, though.
It was a good
Yeah,
pod.
apparently it was really good. So maybe
Went over an hour for a buy-round podcast.
Wow. All right. Maybe we'll give him some leeway.
Really
maybe.
good roulette segment too, I heard.
They do some good work on the pod, so you're allowed to be late sometimes, Dossie. But if you are keen on signing up, the link is in the description below. Dossie, to take your mind off, to take your mind off where your brain's going, can you please read out the gold members for us?
I sure can. Matt Quigley, Josh Hutchins, thank you, all these people. Liam Snowden, Marcus Kernahan, Michael Kromeloff, Paul Summerton, Wayne Rushton, Gabe Feeneman, Drew Peacock, Sam Scarabalotti.
Thank you to those gold members. We haven't had a review in a while, so if you haven't done
Scarabalotti?
Scarabalotti, let's go with that. If you haven't left a review on Apple Podcasts or rated us on Spotify, please do that. Those things may help us climb the charts and get us a bit more seen on those networks. So anyway,
I think we should just quickly touch on the unfortunate news that happened last Wednesday.
oh, Trudge watch.
Yeah,
Put your
undrafted.
fudge out for Trudge.
It was bullshit, wasn't
It
it?
was crap.
Yeah.
Who'd they draft instead? Your
Will Hayes.
boy Will Hayes.
My boy Will Hayes, yeah.
Listen to the Wave Wire podcast for a bit of Will Hayes chat if you haven't done that yet.
It was Kaes' fault then, obviously.
That's another thing you get as a member, the Wave Wire podcast, and you definitely want to sign up this week because it's basically just 20 minutes of Kaes and I arguing while we wait for DOS. So
It's actually quite good content.
good
Might
fun.
have to listen.
Good fun. Anyways, let's move on to the listener questions. Do the listener questions. All right, first question of the night comes from Munro Xavier. What's James Jordan's role looking like? Dossie, you watched that game, still out on the wing?
I didn't watch it, but yeah, it's a
Oh, it's
wing.
Kaes, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he's been, when I've been watching, it's been a pure wing role, basically, and something that I probably wasn't expecting him to be able to play, but then we obviously saw Gus Brayshaw move into a role that we didn't think was going to happen as well. So, yeah, he's been able to take that pure wing role and actually started to perform, like we've said, the last month or so. He's really coming into it.
And he's been mighty consistent too.
What do you think he goes at, like, when he gets to, like, the peak of his career? Is he a 100-plus average winger or is he, like, a 90-plus average winger?
I don't think he's a winger.
I think he's an inside. Yeah, I
think he goes inside.
I think he does when, I don't know, when
Viney.
a Viney. But the thing is, Sparrow's in there too. I think he does get some. I think it's like a bit like, you know how McCluggage, even though they're very, I'm not saying he's the next McCluggage, but you know how McCluggage was just stuck on the outside for so long, but then it's like, oh, we got to get this guy inside. I think it's kind of like that.
He's only 21.
I think he
plenty of
spends
time.
there for a couple of years, and
then
then he starts getting like 40% and whatever, depending on injuries and stuff as well.
At Willie1998, is Callum Wilkie legit? Thinking of trading Hind for him. Thoughts? The job security is better than the Hind, isn't it?
apparently.
Yeah.
We just re-signed Nick Hines, so I'm not really sure what
Okay.
about the other week.
Hind.
Hind's got
Hold Hind.
Hind has definitely got the highest ceiling. Wilkie is just a bit more consistent this year. That's the difference.
No,
I think
but then you've
long-term
also
you want
got
Hind.
like Hunter Clark could come back in. He could play like a halfback
Yeah,
role
true.
where he takes the
and you got
pill.
Caulfield going forward as well. Like I don't know.
More
Yeah.
leaner.
Hold Hind.
Yeah, hold on. I agree. Hold on. At Ruxon S, not having watched many St Kilda games lately, I can't say I've ever noticed Dan McKenzie. He's had some decent games this year. Is he worth a look? For
I've
me,
mentioned his name a couple of times on the potty.
He's,
So you're a Dan McKenzie man then.
he's a dime a dozen winger, isn't he?
Yeah, probably. Is he? I think he's only got mid status too.
Yeah, he
doesn't
does.
Yeah, that's the. That's
Like he
the
can
hard
play on the
thing.
halfback line, but he's got mid stats and he's been playing on the wing a fair bit, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, did he score well again this week, did he?
Well, they didn't play. So I think he's just thinking of
Trying to find a pickup.
Yeah.
I like him, but only as a streamer.
Yeah.
It's tough because he's been so up and down, but he has popped it. There's been a couple where I reckon he was on 50 halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah, he always stands out because he's number 38, isn't he, for St Kilda? And I was like, who the hell is that? But
he does. He does when he does stuff, it looks pretty good.
Yeah. And then it's just like, oh yeah, it's that guy that I always forget his name. It's Dan McKenzie.
Yeah.
Anyway, at Ranger J87, hey gents, Wil Powell's ton against the Roos, enough to warrant bringing him back in off the waivers. Looked like he was playing high up the ground and wing for most of the game. Will he benefit from Weller being out? Yeah, we've talked about that. Waiver Wire podcast, have a listen to that. But he was probably my waiver pick of the week, I reckon. Wil Powell for that role on the wing. And hopefully it holds, because if it does, there's some good scores to come, I think. At Cam's Burner, hey gents, any idea on if Hunter Clark may be back this week? I reckon he is.
I think he has to be.
He played, 2 games in the waffle now,
and then the bye,
79 and bye.
So surely he's ready to go. At Mortarded, Lockie Weller, any news on the knee? I reckon it's an ACL, isn't it? But
they've confirmed it. Yeah.
Losers forward status next year, but we'll get a B. Not worth the hold long term. Butterick seeing an uptick in points, or someone else. Yeah, I reckon Butterick is the first go-to, but jump on Bowes is going to be Bowes. We've listened to too much Statesman. Bowes is going to be the next one in, I think. So he could be just worth picking up pretty cheap. That's what I think. Do you agree, Kaes? And Jack Bowes?
Yeah, Jack Bowes is the man. I'm actually super keen on Conor Butterick too. I reckon he's the uptick is true. At Andrew D wants to know, is it worth getting Nick Nat or Pit Net off the waiver wire? 2 ruck competition and most R2s average less than 70.
Here's the 2 ruck comps that I was talking about earlier.
There are a few
stash that buku
psychopaths out there. If you play 2 rucks, it's probably worth having Nick Nat, I reckon. I don't know.
I don't know if they'll play him personally.
If he comes back,
I don't know. As a West Coast player, as a West Coast fan, as you can see by my beautiful beanie, those watching the stream, why would you our goal this year, from my perspective? We got to win that spoon. That's what I want. So it's like I don't see why you'd bother bringing him back. What are you going to do? You're going to come home for a 5-game win streak and lose the spoon and just be get a number 6 pick instead of actually getting the number 1.
You're not getting up that high on the ladder, Dossie, but I know what you mean.
Ambitious. But no, I don't know. I don't know why you'd bring him back at all, to be honest.
So maybe pick up Pitnet, because, I don't know, will they play Pitnet if they come back? I don't know. If you're playing second ruck, if you're playing 2 rucks there, you've got to have someone, so they're as good as any. I looked at we had an ad drop today in one of my leagues, and I don't have a backup ruck at the moment because I've got 4 that are injured, and I looked at the ruck pool, and there was not one ruckman that I could pick up that confidently will play each week, so I just didn't bother. So I'll just play with a 0.
If this is for his season this year, I'd go Pitnet, just because even if they do, as we think, if they do bring back Nick Nat, they'll totally do the 50% Tog thing and play like a Williams or a Stranatica or whatever.
Yeah,
so he won't be able to score enough.
All right, take that from the West Coast supporter. I reckon that's good advice there. At Isaac_WF, got to play 2 this week out of Sparrow, Horn Francis, Billings, and Dev Rob. Who would you guys go with?
We've got to look at matchups.
Who's playing who?
It's a very good question.
So for Melbourne, it is Collingwood. Don't mind Sparrow for that reason. Horn Francis against GWS, no thank you. Billings, if named, versus Brisbane. That's the one I like. Dev Rob versus the Saints. No, Dev Rob's might not even play, in my opinion.
All right, so what was it called there?
Billings, if named. Sparrow, otherwise.
Yeah, Yes, I agree. Oh, what's the Horn Francis? Where is he playing? He's playing
G-Dubs.
I don't know. Horn Francis went. What did Sparrow score last week?
Not much. Bugger all, 30 or 40.
Yeah,
Horn Francis had that corky.
Collingwood.
Yeah, and Horn Francis had that corky as well, so he might be. I don't know. He came off and didn't play the last
Billings,
quarter.
if named, for me.
Yeah, Billings is the definite.
Lock it in, Eddie.
Billings is definite. I would just toss a coin between Horn Francis and Sparrow, really. But yeah, I probably wouldn't play Dev Rob. Anyway, that's it for me. I think there was one question in there. I just can't actually find it. But I think the general gist was Sparrow or James Jordan. Who would you have out of those two going forward?
Jordan.
Yeah, I'm Jordan. Air Jordan?
Team Jordan.
All right, cool. That answers that question. Sorry, whoever asked that question. I could not find it where I saw it. But anyway, that's a wrap. Thanks to Kaes for coming back this week and being on the podcast and getting over his loss.
Infinitely better for it too.
Yeah.
One final thing. Do you reckon, do the D's swing the axe this week?
No, I reckon
No?
Kaes reckons they're doing a mini preseason. That's why they're not doing well. They're getting ready for finals already. So it's not the worst call.
Be interesting,
Thing to do. Anyway, get around us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. Keep at Keeper League Pod on all of those. Manscaped.com. Use Keeper20 to get 20% off and free shipping. And also support the podcast by signing up as a member. Links in the description below. Check that out. And then also get access to our bonus content, including the Wave Wire podcast, where Kaes and I argue for 20 minutes. So yeah, get around that. It's a riveting listen, I'm sure.
I don't think it's arguing. I think it's,
No, we probably argue.
Scholarly.
We debate for like the first
Debate.
5, talk about our waivers, and then debate for another 5, I reckon.
A mass debate.
Good one, Dossie. All right, that's it for this week. We will see you later.
Yep.
Classic. That's good. Short, sharp, shiny pod. Right on now.
Stop streaming.
Oh, Paddy.